Chartered by the state of Georgia in 1785, the University of Georgia is the birthplace of higher education and has seen many changes with each century, decade, and era. 2020 was not the first time UGA responded to a pandemic with the 1918 influenza, but 2020 was the first time anyone experienced a year quite like this. How will UGA students and faculty describe this school year in the future?
Dreadful.
Overwhelming.
Weird.
The change is so perpetual, and it also seems it's just so horrific at the same time. So you really can't ever determine what is supposed to give you anxiety and what's not.
I think it's weird because we're doing things in different ways from how we've always done them, and we all had to go there quickly.
I feel like it's just a fever dream. Going back to school and now being in school and trying to get all my work done while, we're in a pandemic.
Nobody expected COVID-19 or the pandemic to happen, so there was no advanced planning. So if you think about last spring, everything sort of just was a rush around March.
March 12th comes around, and then that's the day the governor declared the emergency for COVID-19 in Georgia, and then everything just closed for a long time. The social discord that happened this summer was just so intense and crazy, and there's a lot of process because it was Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and then there's even been more after that. So I just think that a lot has happened in 2020 so far.
Not only did school get messed up, we had BLM and we had protests going on, riots going on. I feel like we've had something every month, and then going right back into school, it's just been even more overwhelming because we have to take all that and just kind of put it to the side so that we can do all these assignments all the time.
From an instructor standpoint, many of us have never taught online before. Many of us have never delivered class material online before. And then we were asked to do so in a very rapid time period.
It's not like a gradual transition. And when I think about the fact that I've lived online for probably close to 20 years, right? For some portion of my time in my life. And so being on Zoom, talking to you like this does not faze me at all. But I remember when I first made that transition from being in the office every day to talking to people like this. And at first I was like, am I going to be okay with this? Is this different?
My days are weird. I feel like I get nothing done. And it's so easy to procrastinate online. Let's just be real.
The only Zoom calls I really hate are the ones where I just have to sit and listen. And I'll tell you, I'm multitasking whenever there are Zoom calls like that, because I just can't pay attention for 75 minutes to somebody else talking and not be able to engage in some way.
I try to break down my assignments by what's most urgent. Usually I'm never successful with that, and no matter what, I always get behind.
I know there's always more to do than I'm able to do. And the last thing I want to do is, time is like money, right? You get this pile of money, and if you don't pay attention to where it's going and you don't have a plan to align your money with your goals, then the next thing you know, you have no money left and you haven't gotten anything or accomplished anything with your money that you wanted to do.
I'll break down the assignments that are super urgent that are due that day, and make sure that those are done. And then, by the time that's over with, that's it.
We have 168 hours a week to spend, and we have to go in and create a time budget.
Zoom University, quote unquote, is terrible for me personally. I don't really like it at all. I prefer I love the convenience of being able to hop on a Zoom call, have a good morning routine, but hop on a Zoom call and then do work. But I think that for me personally, like when I went to class on Monday, that's the second time I've been to class, and like I didn't feel like I've been learning anything in that course so far, thus far. But on Monday, like I was taking notes, I was engaged, like the lecture was super interesting. Like I just really miss that. Like I also miss the social aspect of classes, but I think it's very reasonable why we are online.
Whole day is just screens and screens and screens. Like I feel like if anything, I get like 2 hours out of the 20, like besides sleeping, like 2 to like maybe 3 hours of like non-screen time, which is not good. But at the same time, I mean, everything's online, so
There's no like routinous way of life anymore. So like, basically, like we like wake up, go to class, do whatever you do for your day, and then you go to bed. And then like most people I know are doing class over the weekends because, there's like a lot of stuff to do. And we're all like, a lot of my friends are fourth years. A lot of the stuff that we're doing now is going to depend and affect our future immediately, like in the next, like half of a year. And trying to figure out a pattern of focus and a pattern of how to actually do things in a productive manner and not tear myself down in the process, because again, I think it's really important right now for people to practice mindfulness, because it's okay to have bad feelings because we live in a bad time. And then so socially, it's just like, lack of friends, can't go out, you really can't do anything. And people do, like, don't get me wrong, people do. And I'm not going to say that I don't withhold judgment on them, because I definitely do, because I think that this pandemic is serious.
it feels like my whole life depends on this election. There's like a lot of media being pushed onto us. Like I'll go on YouTube and like I'll see an ad for Trump, which I don't want to see, and I'll see an ad for Biden, an ad for Warnock. Like I'll just like see ads and ads and ads.
COVID definitely has changed the way I view people and how I see people's values in their social lives.
Like worked really hard like my first 3 years. And now it's like been the game has just been changed. And I think that, to help uplift myself is to just allow myself to indulge in the things that make me happy.
I know that a lot of people are going through a lot of things right now. And if you think about it, it's very normal. Like a lot of people have personal stress on an unprecedented level. They have financial stress, which feeds into familial stress, which feeds into academic stress. And like all those things combined, and we have like societal pressures, cultural pressures.
It really like helped me like grow up and realize that, oh, it's not just going to be sunshine and like rainbows all the time. Like I'm not just going to go to class, and I'm not just going to have like a summer break. And I feel like I was trying to say, like, I feel like the years have like repetition. Like we go to school and then we have summer vacation, we have winter vacation, and then all of a sudden, boom, pandemic happens. Like that's a totally real thing that can happen in reality. And I feel like a lot of people like didn't realize that until it happened.
I'll tell you what, though, that I think I really like. I hate that we're having to do this, and I would much rather be normal in the classroom all the time, just like we planned. But at the same time, I'm really excited that you guys are having to figure this out. Now, it would be much better if this was like a 3-week window or a 1-month window in the semester instead of the whole semester. But like when I hear you, because when I was in industry, I used to just say, where is my spring break? Where is my, people used to joke, my boss used to joke about, you can have Christmas Day off. I worked at a company for 5 years. I had 7 weeks of vacation. My last year there, I finally took some vacation, and I took 4 hours in an entire year because there was just too much to do. And, and so I think that this is, in some ways, it's kind of a dose of the world, but I don't think we're doing enough to help students understand how to embrace it.
Remember that everything will be okay. I try to like enforce that mantra in my head that this isn't going to last forever. I know everybody says that and it sounds repetitive, but if you just think about it, 5 years from now, you're going to be just fine.
Ideally, this isn't going to be a long-term situation, but we're currently in it right now. But eyes on the prize too. Make the most of your opportunities, and focus on what you need to do to graduate and focus on what you need to do to, really work towards your mental health in this environment.
The amount of work probably hasn't changed, so it's really about having this mental game with yourself of saying, I want to get this done. What's my plan, or whatever, your jam is, right? Like my jam is I'm going to break everything down into little tasks. I'm going to schedule it, but not too much all at once. I'm going to make sure that I don't have a situation where now I have to stay up all night and get something done, because I think that would even just add even more stress. How can I stay on top of everything so that I can just manage it slowly throughout the day? And then how do I layer on top of that some mental health breaks? How do I get out of it, look at the positive side of what's going on and how it's really preparing me for the world that is not college, and what life is going to be?
Appreciate the medium and appreciate the end goal. So it is easy to get down a negative spiral, and to think that, well, I don't really have to show up. You got to show up. And that, that's half the battle. That's like if you are having a difficult time writing a paper, I always say to my graduate students, set a timer, write for 5 minutes. Some days you will write for 5 minutes and then walk away. Other days, the timer will go off and then you'll write for hours. Same line of thinking with regard to class. Show up. It may not be, the best day. You may not be your best self, but that is a means of engagement and a means of seeing other people and talking. Helps a lot, because this is an environment now where everybody's isolated, and I think that everybody is working through this, and people are responding differently to this isolation, but that connection, you have to make an effort to have that connection to keep it moving.
The UGA experience radically transformed overnight, and we are forced to create a new normal at the birthplace of higher education.